My eyes damn near popped out of my skull when my phone started lighting up at 6 in the morning. Unknown number. Message after message. Each one worse than the last. The first buzz jolted me from a dead sleep. I'd been working 60-hour weeks at the construction site, coming home with concrete dust embedded in my skin and sweat-soaked clothes that reeked of honest labor. The kind of work that knocks you out cold the second your head hits the pillow. The kind of sleep my wife apparently hadn't been getting while I was breaking my back to pay for the roof over our heads. I fumbled for my phone in the dark, squinting at the blue light that stabbed my retinas. The other side of the bed was empty. Cold. She'd told me she was staying at her sister's place overnight. Something about needing girl time or whatever bullshit excuse she'd been feeding me lately. The screen was lighting up with notification after notification. I thumbed it open, still half asleep, brain not quite processing what I was seeing. Photos of my wife, half-dressed, sprawled out like she was auditioning for a cheap motel ad. Smiling. Posing. Some of them so filthy it made me wonder if she even remembered the meaning of shame. My stomach dropped like I'd just stepped off a 20-story building. Blood rushing in my ears. Heart hammering against my ribs like it wanted to escape the nightmare my life had suddenly become. There she was, my Melissa, the woman who'd stood in a white dress and promised forever. The woman I'd trusted with everything I had. Wearing lingerie I'd never seen before, arching her back on sheets that weren't ours, looking into the camera with bedroom eyes meant for someone else. It wasn't just one or two photos. It was dozens. A goddamn photo shoot of betrayal. Her in the shower. Her on her knees. Her with a smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. And the texts that came with them. She moans your name sometimes by accident. We laugh about it. She says you're too tired to fuck her right. I make sure she's never left wanting. Those tits you think are yours. I've been enjoying them 3 times a week while you're at work. Each word was a knife twisting in my gut. Each image burned itself into my brain like a brand. I couldn't look away. Couldn't stop scrolling through the evidence of my life falling apart in real time. And the kicker. The final message read. She's not just yours anymore, buddy. Better start packing your crap and get out of her house. I stared at that text for a solid minute, feeling the rage boil under my skin. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the phone. The bedroom was spinning around me, the familiar surroundings suddenly alien and hostile. Her house. Her house. I barked out a laugh that sounded more like a wounded animal than anything human. The sound echoed in the empty room like a gunshot. Poor bastard didn't even know the house he thought she owned. It wasn't hers. It was mine. Paid for. In my name. Her name wasn't even on the goddamn mailbox. I'd worked double shifts for 3 years to scrape together the down payment. Sacrificed vacations, new clothes, nights out with friends. All while she found herself through a series of half-assed career attempts that never lasted longer than a few months. The photography business that fizzled. The online boutique that crashed and burned. The life coaching gig that never attracted a single client. But I'd supported it all. Because that's what husbands do, right? They support their wives' dreams, no matter how impractical or expensive. Turns out, my dear wife had been lying to more than just me. She'd been selling him some fantasy about being a self-made queen, living in her big beautiful castle, just waiting for a real man to come sweep her off her feet. Meanwhile, he was too stupid to realize he was being played right alongside me. I scrolled back up through the messages, studying the man who'd been fucking my wife. In one of the photos, I caught his reflection in the mirror. Tall, gym-built, with the kind of tribal tattoos that screamed, peaked in high school. The timestamps showed some of these had been taken during the day, when I was hauling lumber and laying foundation for 10 hours straight. My wedding ring felt like it was burning my finger. I yanked it off and threw it across the room. It pinged against the wall and disappeared somewhere in the carpet. Just like my marriage. Just like my trust. Just like the last 5 years of my life. But I wasn't about to let it slide. No way. If they wanted a war, I was gonna give them a goddamn masterpiece. The cold fury that washed over me was almost calming. Like stepping into an ice bath after being on fire. My mind cleared. The shaking stopped. And in its place came a clarity I hadn't felt in years. First thing I did was stay quiet. Didn't confront her. Didn't yell. Just went about my day, smiling like an idiot, pretending everything was just peachy. I called in sick to work. Took a shower. Made coffee. And started planning. While the coffee brewed, I pulled up our finances on my laptop. Joint account showed a pattern of withdrawals at hotels, restaurants I'd never been to, lingerie shops, and liquor stores. My hard-earned money funding their little fuckfest. I picked up my phone and dialed my buddy at the bank. Mark had been my friend since college, had helped us with the mortgage. He answered on the second ring. "Hey man, what's up? Little early for a social call." "Need a favor," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Need to know what it takes to remove someone from an account. Need to know fast." There was a pause. Mark was smart enough to read between the lines. "This about Melissa? Just need information. Fast and quiet." He sighed. "Come by at 9. I'll have the paperwork ready." Meanwhile, I started packing, not my stuff, hers. Boxed up every piece of crap she owned. Clothes, jewelry, makeup, even her precious little influencer gear she loved flashing on Instagram like she was some kinda big shot. I found stuff I'd never seen before. Lingerie still in bags from stores I couldn't afford. Perfume that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. A burner phone hidden in her winter boots at the back of the closet. When I powered it up, I found hundreds of texts between her and Jay. Planning their meetups. Complaining about me. Laughing about how stupid I was. How I had no idea. How they were going to run away together once she figured out how to get the house from me. "He works so much he never notices anything," she'd written. "By the time he realizes what's happening, the house will be mine and we'll be lounging by the pool while he's living in some shitty apartment." I took screenshots of everything. Evidence. Ammunition. Each box I packed felt lighter than the last. Like I was shedding dead weight with every item of hers I threw in. By noon, I'd called a locksmith. Paid triple for same-day service. The guy gave me a knowing look when I explained the situation. "Happens more than you'd think," he said, replacing the deadbolts. "Had 3 calls like this last month." Next, I froze the joint accounts. Cut off every card she had access to. The bank visit was quick. Mark had the paperwork ready. His eyes said everything his mouth couldn't in a professional setting. Pity. Anger on my behalf. The silent brotherhood of men who've been there. "You sure about this?" he asked, sliding the forms across the desk. I didn't hesitate. Never been more sure of anything in my life. By 3 o'clock, I'd contacted a lawyer. By 4, I'd filed for divorce on grounds of infidelity, with evidence attached. By 5, I'd changed the Wi-Fi password, the Netflix account, and the garage door code. And then, the grand finale. I waited until Friday night, the night she usually worked late and came home smelling like cheap cologne and bad decisions. For 3 days, I'd maintained the charade. Acted normal on the phone when she called with excuses about working late and client dinners. I'd even told her I missed her. Asked when she'd be home. Played the role of the oblivious husband so perfectly I should have won an Oscar. On Friday morning, I left for work at the usual time. Kissed her goodbye like nothing was wrong. Told her I loved her. Watched her smile that I now recognized as pure, distilled deceit. Instead of going to work, I went to Home Depot. Bought a tarp. White paint. The biggest brushes they had. And a roll of caution tape, just for effect. By noon, I'd painted the banner. 20 feet of plastic sheeting with letters that would be visible from space. At 3, I started moving boxes. Every single thing she owned, piled neatly on the front lawn. I covered it all with another tarp in case of rain. Because I'm considerate like that. At 6, I cracked open a beer and watched the sunset from the porch. Our neighbor, old Mrs. Jenkins, came over to ask what was happening. I told her the truth. Showed her the photos. Her face went from shock to disgust to a kind of grim satisfaction. Never liked her, she said finally. Too much makeup. Too little substance. By 8, I was surrounded by neighbors. The word had spread. People brought food. More beer. One guy even brought lawn chairs so we could all sit comfortably while we waited for the shit show to begin. When she strolled in, giggling on the phone with lover boy, she didn't find a loving husband waiting. She found all her crap piled neatly on the front lawn. Underneath a giant banner I hung between the trees that read, "House for sale, owner moving on. Cheaters not welcome." Her face went from confusion to horror in about 3 seconds flat. She dropped her phone mid-sentence. Her perfect mouth hanging open in a silent scream as she tried to process what she was seeing. "What the?" she finally managed, looking from the banner to the boxes to me sitting calmly in a lawn chair, beer in hand. "Welcome home, honey," I said, raising my bottle in a mock toast. "Thought I'd help you pack." Neighbors came out. Cars slowed down. Phones flashed. She lunged for me, her designer purse swinging like a weapon. "You had no right. Those are my things. This is my house." I didn't even flinch. Just pulled out my phone and played one of the videos her lover had sent me. Her voice, clear as day, moaning his name. Begging him. Promising him things she'd never promised me. The color drained from her face. "Where did you get that? Your boyfriend's been sending me updates. Seems he wanted me to know exactly how much fun you two were having." "He wouldn't." "He did." I swiped to the texts. Held them up for her to see. Guess he got tired of being the side piece. Wanted to claim his territory. The realization hit her like a physical blow. She staggered back, looking around wildly as if searching for an escape route. But there was nowhere to go. Just a circle of neighbors with folded arms and judgmental stares. "You can't do this," she whispered, but there was no conviction in it. Just the desperate denial of someone watching their castle of lies crumble in real time. I stood up slowly. Walked over to her until we were inches apart. Close enough to smell the unfamiliar cologne on her skin. "The house is mine," I said, voice low and even. "The car is mine. The bank accounts are frozen. The credit cards are cancelled. The locks are changed. And as of 4 o'clock today, I'm no longer your husband. I'm your landlord. And I'm evicting you." I handed her the divorce papers. Watched her scan them, mouth working silently as she tried to find words. And just when she started screeching about, "How could you," lover boy rolled up in his beat-up truck, flowers in hand, probably thinking he was about to play knight in shining armor. The look on his face when he saw the scene was almost worth the agony of the past few days. Almost. He got out slowly, looking from the banner to the boxes to Melissa's tear-streaked face. "What the hell is this?" he demanded, trying to sound tough but his voice cracked on the last word. I grinned at him. The kind of grin wolves give before they rip out a throat. "This," I said, gesturing to the lawn, the banner, the neighbors with their phones out, "is reality. Welcome to it." "You can't just throw her stuff out," he protested, puffing up his chest like he was about to do something stupid. I laughed. Couldn't help it. The absolute absurdity of this jackass thinking he had any say in what happened in my house, on my property. Actually, I can. And I did. And if you take one step closer to me or my house, I'm going to introduce your face to the sidewalk. He must have seen something in my eyes then. Something that told him I wasn't bluffing. That after 3 days of cold calculation, I was almost hoping he'd give me an excuse to unleash the violence simmering under my skin. Instead, he got an eyeful of reality, and a loud, ugly scene where the woman he thought he won revealed herself to be nothing more than a cheap, broke liar with nowhere to go. You told me this was your house, he yelled at her, backing up a step. You said you were loaded. That we'd be set once you got rid of him. Melissa's face crumpled. I can explain. Did you lie about the beach house too? The investment portfolio? The inheritance? I watched the realization dawn on his face. He'd been played just as thoroughly as I had. Different game, same result. Jesus Christ, he muttered, running a hand through his hair. I left my wife for you. Left my kids. That got a collective gasp from the neighbors. Even I hadn't seen that one coming. Me? I didn't stick around to hear the details. I tossed the house keys to Mrs. Jenkins. Make sure they clear out everything by morning. Call the cops if they try to enter the house. She caught them with a nod. With pleasure. I drove off, windows down, music blasting, and the kind of grin on my face you only get when you know you just set fire to a house of lies, and didn't even get singed. The highway stretched out before me, empty and full of promise. I had no idea where I was going. No plan beyond escape. But for the first time in years, I felt light. Free. That night, I checked into a roadside motel under a fake name. Paid cash. Turned off my phone. Stripped naked and stood under the shower until the hot water ran out, like I could wash away the stink of betrayal. When the water turned cold, I let it run. Felt the numbness spread from my skin to my bones to whatever was left of my heart. I didn't cry. Didn't rage. Just stood there, letting the cold water pound against my skin, thinking about the look on her face when she realized the game was over. Thinking about the text messages. The photos. The videos. Thinking about 5 years of my life flushed down the toilet for a man with tribal tattoos and a beat-up truck. The next morning, I woke up to 57 missed calls. 23 voicemails. 98 text messages. I deleted them all without reading them. Blocked her number. Blocked his. Blocked her sister, her friends, anyone who might try to reach out on her behalf. 3 days later, I got a call from Mrs. Jenkins. The house was clear. They'd taken the boxes and disappeared. Left the banner though. Said it had become something of a local landmark. You coming back? She asked. I looked around the motel room, at the cheap furniture and the stained carpet and the walls so thin I could hear the couple next door arguing about money. No, I said finally. I'm not. What should I do with the house? Sell it, I said without hesitation. Market's good right now. I'll split the profit with you for the trouble. And until then? Keep an eye on it. Water the plants. Consider it yours. I hung up and stared at the ceiling, counting the water stains like they were stars in a filthy constellation. Sometimes, when you've been betrayed so completely, the only thing left to do is burn it all down and walk away. Let the flames consume the past. Let the smoke signal a warning to anyone else who might try to play you for a fool. The divorce papers came through 3 months later. Clean break. No alimony. No shared assets. Nothing for her to sink her claws into. I heard through the grapevine that she and lover boy had split up 2 weeks after the lawn incident. That he'd gone back to his wife, begging forgiveness. That Melissa was living in a studio apartment, working retail, telling anyone who'd listen about how I'd ruined her life. I didn't feel satisfaction. Didn't feel vindication. Didn't feel much of anything except a cold certainty that I'd done what needed to be done. Some people call it revenge. I call it justice. Sometimes they're the same thing. The house sold for twice what I'd paid for it. Mrs. Jenkins got her cut. I took mine and disappeared. New city. New job. New name, practically. I never remarried. Never trusted anyone enough to try again. Some wounds don't heal, they just scab over, waiting for the next hit to break them open again. But I sleep well at night. Dream without nightmares. Wake up without that hollow feeling in my chest. And sometimes, on particularly good days, I can almost forget the look on her face when she realized she'd lost everything. Almost forget the sound of her voice pleading for a second chance. Almost forget the way it felt to have my life torn apart by someone who'd promised to love me forever. Almost. But not quite. And that's just fine with me.